This story was sent in by a fan of the channel. Thank you for your submission. If you would like to send a story to be featured on this channel, you can email me at buttcracksubmissions@outlook.com.
Story number 4 is the time my girlfriend's butt crack quite possibly saves our relationship. My girlfriend Jess and I had been together for around 6 years at the time, and if I'm honest, things weren't going too well. We were both working extremely long hours, often away from home and often during the nights. Jess worked as a nurse in a hospital, and I was a long-distance lorry driver. This meant that on the very rare occasion we actually got time together, you could guarantee either one of us would be sleeping or we'd be too worn out to want to do anything. This had been putting pressure on the relationship and was really testing us. Jess is an amazing person and beautiful to behold. She's particularly short, slightly curvy, and has long brunette hair which flows most of the way down her back. Something that she's never been, though, is someone who displays any crack. She's always extremely aware of how low her pants are lying, and will never let anything show as she gets embarrassed. Not only this, but she's repulsed if she ever sees anyone else's crack. She'd always see it, cringe, and say something along the lines of, "Ooh, how can't they notice that? That's so gross." She never did know that by complete contrast, it was actually a total turn-on for me. I love how it's more subtle and like a little tease rather than total nudity. I love seeing the crack and wondering what else is down there. I love the sense of danger and excitement that you're getting to see such a personal part of someone's body, and that they have absolutely no idea. Anyway, this one evening we'd been having some disagreements and tensions were high, due to us both being stressed and overworked. She needed the space, so she went up to bed about an hour before me, and I stayed downstairs and put on some Netflix. It was a particularly hot and very humid summer night, the kind which is almost unbearable at the best of times. I could hear that Jess had turned the fan on in the bedroom to keep cool. When I eventually followed her up to bed, I was met with a view which caught me completely off guard. She was laying on her front wearing one of my t-shirts as they were very loose-fitting on her, and she had a pair of panties on which had a giant Superman logo on the back. A pair of panties which I think may have shrunk in the wash, as they didn't look loose on her butt, but they revealed around 2 inches of her cute little butt crack. I had to take a second glance, as in all our 6 years together, I'd never seen her butt crack showing like that before. She never knew I liked butt cracks. She was always embarrassed at the thought of showing any, plus we'd just been arguing, so I doubt I was in her good books for a treat that particular night. She had genuinely fallen asleep with her butt crack on display. I stood next to the bed, just staring at the beautiful sight as I pondered what to do. I thought about getting a blanket and covering her up, but then I thought it was way too warm for that. I considered pulling her panties up for her, but I think they were already as far up as they'd go. And plus, I didn't want to disturb her and make her even more upset. So instead, I simply got into bed next to her and let it show. It's not like there was anyone else living at our house, so there was absolutely no danger of anyone else seeing it. I just lay there looking at her butt crack for hours. Occasionally, she'd adjust her sleeping position slightly, making her butt jiggle as she moved. She obviously felt quite comfortable and safe in her own sleepy world, unaware that her butt was showing. As the night went on, I couldn't sleep, partly because of the heat and partly due to the amazing view right next to me. The longer I stared at her crack, the more I considered how lucky I am to actually have Jess in my life. We'd fall out when we were both stressed, but she was always there for me when I needed her the most, as I was for her. I took one last long glance at her beautiful butt crack and even managed to take a couple of sneaky, candid pictures on my phone. Once I'd done this, I felt as though nothing could get any better. I put my phone on charge, turned so I could no longer see her crack, and managed to fall asleep myself. The next morning, I was awake first. I turned to face Jess, whose butt crack was still peeping exactly like it was during the night. At this moment, I smiled to myself and knew that I had to do something nice in return. Even if she didn't know what she was doing, I'd still been given the treat of a lifetime. So I snuck out quietly, got myself dressed, and went to the little corner shop just down our street. I picked up a bouquet of roses, some of her favorite sweet treats, and a card. The card had Wallace and Gromit on the front because she loves them and thinks they're really funny films. But the real reason I picked this particular card was because it said, "To a cracking girlfriend," on the front. She got this as a reference to the films, but never knew that I picked it as a reference to seeing her crack the night before. I brought the gifts home and wrote a loving message in the card. She eventually woke up and came downstairs. She was very surprised and absolutely thrilled with her little gifts. She almost welled up in tears of joy. She ran up to me, arms open, and gave me the tightest hug I've ever received. As I hugged her back, her t-shirt, which was technically mine, rose up just enough to reveal that her crack was still on show while stood up, just hidden away when the t-shirt dropped back down again. After that night, we genuinely became much closer and fell out a lot less. I also encouraged her to wear those panties more too. I told her that I liked the nerdiness of them. And she did wear them after that day, and every time she did, her pretty little butt crack still pops out to say hello to this day. And she's still blissfully unaware that it shows, and that her crack was literally what made me realize how lucky I am.